Here are 5 cars that I believe are quality, luxury, and have a bit of performance to them for 5k or less. If you like the idea of that, stay tuned. Being a car enthusiast, while having a cost of living crisis in a time where a lot of things are a lot more expensive to buy, such as houses, food, rent, and general other daily things, it is definitely difficult to own a car where you really want to own something special, like your dream car, a Porsche 911 GT3 RS, a Ferrari. Okay, maybe they're a little bit over the top. Let's just say a standard Cayman. Those cars seem a bit more average nowadays. But I've compiled a list of 5 cars that you can buy on a budget, you don't have to break the bank, and no, it's not my typical video of saying it's gonna break down after you buy it. These cars are genuinely considered pretty good performance cars for the money. This is potentially Japan's early 2000 muscle car, which is still great value. These are the cheapest at below 5k. Now yes, it might be a little bit of a dog at 5k, but you can get a good one for 7k, although I do want to stick to the budget on this video. And unlike the RX-8, the 350Z was usable if you wanted to. You get a really neatly styled, surprisingly compact coupe powered by a muscular, naturally aspirated 3.5 litre V6. Yes, that might add a little bit on the insurance, and there's one thing to note with the 350Z is that sometimes if you go for the HR engine, you will have to pay £600 tax. Similar, I think, to the D engine, but it is claimed the HR engine is the best. Pretty much every 350Z was claimed to do 5.9 seconds to 60 and 155 miles an hour, and that's not too bad at all. You gotta remember this is almost a 20-year-old car now, and you're never really short of performance in a 350Z. It still looks great and it goes great. You don't often see that many of them, but if you are to get into a 350Z, you're gonna have lots of owners clubs because 350Zs are everywhere at car shows. It's kind of like my GT86, I only see them when I go out. 350Zs for me are a really good purchase. Of course, it's really cheap now as well, like £5 for one of these. It's a V6, and yes, it was in Fast and Furious. It's a modifiable car as well. It's almost such a perfect entry for most people to get into. Just be careful of that tax though. If you're a Jag person and you want something British and different, here is your option. It's a Jaguar XK8 V8. And before you click off this video, let me explain. In my humble opinion, this is one of the best looking Jaguars, aside from the E-Type, that has ever been made. The XK8 is so underrated nowadays. You don't see that many. Now, admittedly, there's probably a reason for that. They're heavy, they're thirsty cars, they're extremely expensive to tax and run. You can actually get these for under 5k now. Yes, you can get the big gnarly old cat for £5. I've seen plenty of S-Types and XJRs, but why not settle for something a little bit more Bond villain? The 4 litre would fit the bill here. It comes with 370 horsepower, a V8 engine. When it was first released in 1996, it was a time for Jaguar to be able to rejoice in building great cars again. They created so many different versions over the time, and a lot of cars were sold. This is before Jaguar started to lose money and go down the route of using Aston Martin and Ford for parts. It had a similar platform to the Aston Martin DB7, and both cars had tracing history with their abandoned Jaguar developments. The XK8 went to an XKR over 9 years, and they made this model for 9 years, which is crazy to think. So many were sold, and it was a great model. It was in Top Gear shootouts, used in Bond, and even had an XKR Silverstone edition, which was a cool limited edition. The more I talk about this right now, the more I actually want to buy one. Here's an example on Auto Trader. You may think I'm mad choosing this Jag, but okay, it is pretty heavy, thirsty on fuel, and maintenance to run. For 5k, this is a good looking car. You can take it to a show, have a weekend blast, and you'll be able to show off to your mates. Now this is a big one, but if you ever fancied a Porsche, this might be the car to get. It's the 340 horsepower Cayenne S, and it's proved a fantastic bargain for almost 5 to 10 years now. As most people will probably know, it's Porsche's biggest production car and has become a classified ad legend. There is quite a few of them, but that's not to mean it's terrible. It's actually a very reliable car. A lot of people typically do buy older Cayennes because they know they run up to well over 100,000 miles. And it's fair to say that most people will have at least considered one of these when looking on Auto Trader. They're very tempting, and you can get the Cayenne Turbo, the GTS. It's a very comfy car, it's a cheap alternative to getting into Porsche, it's a fairly affordable car. I mean, tax can be around £500, insurance can be whatever it makes for you. When it was first released in 2002, not many people liked it, but over time I think people grew on it. The first generation wasn't very good looking, but after the first gen facelift it got better looking, then there was the second gen which was just the worst, and now we have the third generation which is more of a plug-in hybrid now. But when you stop and think, this is the car that started the whole sporty SUV concept, because Porsche took a risk with the Cayenne, and now a lot of people do drive cars like this. So if you want to drive the original on a bargain with a V8 engine, this is now your time. No, seriously, before they take away gas and petrol and start taxing super highly on these cars. I think it's fair to say that the Cayenne, when it first came out, was not liked. If I'm honest, I didn't like it either. But when you actually look at the classifieds now and all the used versions out there that they can do over 100,000 miles, you realise this car is an absolute bargain and an entry into Porsche. Just a quick one for me, if you are enjoying this car content and you do like what you see here, I have so much more car content on my channel, and please do check it out here. At the start of this video, I did say performance cars, and I have to say, it's not all performance per se. It's more performance within the budget. And actually, if you look at the Lexus GS450, you'll get it right there. Yes, it's luxury and performance essentially in one go. Performance doesn't always have to mean supercar quick, it can mean a leisurely pace. The GS450 Hybrid from around 2009 packs everything into that, a car that I actually really like when I see occasionally on the motorways. It's a rear-wheel drive Lexus that gets you from 0 to 60 in under 6 seconds, but very few cars in this budget will make you feel like you've got performance and a luxury cruiser. I love these things. Look back at the old Lexuses, you will even see how great they are nowadays. They're still really affordable as well. And the thing is, Lexuses aren't even unreliable, they're pretty good going. You have to remember, it's a glorified luxury Toyota, so of course the parts are going to be a bit more reasonable than a BMW or Mercedes. And it's still a Lexus badge. That's the equivalent of luxury. Here's a couple I found on Auto Trader. One thing I love about the Lexus GS is that it is understated. There's not many of them. You'll be hard pressed to find a good one in this condition for the price. I have to be honest, when I look at BMWs in the UK, I do get fed up with them. A lot of them are bought because there's more of a status symbol around it. Well, actually, there's a car that I found I really do like. It looks great. It's fairly low mileage to buy, under £5,000, and often not an appreciated car that people think about. Yes, when you look at BMW, you go straight to M Sport, right? Or you're going to go straight to the new sort of 5 Series. The 320i from around 2008 onwards was a really, really good looking M Sport car. Yes, this isn't the M badge, but it's the M Sport, and a lot of these now can be found for under £5,000. Modification wise as well, they look fantastic. A seriously underrated car in the scene. Unfortunately, again, BMW has been plagued with this whole idea of status symbol, and I would like to own one, but I wouldn't want people to think it's because of the status. It's actually a quality car. Admittedly, they're not all perfect. Yes, BMW have been known to have issues in this time, and it could affect the M Sport. But the 320i, in my opinion, is one of the best looking BMWs from its time, apart from the M3 that came after it. Sometimes with BMW, I like to remind myself that they do make great cars, and they're not all boring sedans or estates made for the businessman. If you look past it and look into the heritage, the 320i M Sport is actually one that should be named as a great, and may actually increase in value over time. But please don't quote me on that. I debated putting the 330Ci on this list. From 2007 onwards, this car was just very good looking. It might have BMW quality and mechanics, but it's definitely one to modify. In my opinion, the next step down from getting an M3. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do like the content, as always, don't forget to subscribe.